Good morning, everybody. This is Real Estate Talk TGIF, episode 323. That's 319 weeks in a row here. That's over 6 years. Here we are on location today at NOLA Wellness in New Haven, Connecticut. If you're in the Connecticut area, you need to check this place out. This is off the charts. This is an amazing place for massage, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, we're not here to talk about wellness in the physical sense. We're here to talk about wellness in the real estate sense. And I'm very honored today to have Jeff Bonk with me, who is partner of mine now. And we work together at Align, as well as Jeff is the founder of HBB Group. Hey, Jeff, thanks so much for coming on today, man.
Hey, Dave, thanks for having me, man. It's always a pleasure to hang out with you.
This is great, man, because we have a lot in common, you and me, Jeff, and we're going to be talking about a lot of different things. But before we get started, Nelson, hit the video.
Real estate agents, are you looking to acquire clients consistently to grow your business and income for a great lifestyle? Well, this is Dave Finale, and I'm here to bring you the Real Estate Skill Builder broadcast, Real Estate Talk TGIF, brought to you by Real Estate Skill Builder and the Modern Agent team.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back, Jeff. This is Real Estate Talk TGIF number 323. Jeff, before we get started, a real important question I ask everybody, and most people get it wrong. I kind of hope you get it right, man. What does TGIF stand for?
But you can't fool me with this one. You got me the first time I was a guest here. Thank God it's finale, baby.
There you go, baby. That's what it's all about, man. We're here to talk. Jeff, we're here to give back to our industry to help as many people as we can. And you know, over the last it's almost like 8-9 months now, we've all been gearing up for the changes that occurred in New Jersey on August 1st. And now August 17th coming up, the end of next week, for the Sitzer Burnett lawsuit, all the changes that came about it. And we're going to talk about that in particular, but we're not really going to talk about the case. We don't care about the case. What we're going to talk about is how we work today, right? Everybody wants to talk about the case, this, that, and the other. Yes, you might have to understand, you might have to give out some details about it. So know a little bit about it. A little bit of information is enough, but we're going to help you with the changes in how you run your business. Because I will tell you that the one thing that I believe, Jeff, is that our business hasn't changed. It's just how we get paid and how we communicate that. That's it.
That's right.
So, but before we get into that, Jeff, I want to know a little bit about you. I want to know about you. I want you to talk to our listeners and our viewers about who Jeff Bonk is. How did you get started? Where are you now? And how did you get there? What's that gap like? How did you feel that?
Awesome.
Talk to me about your life, man.
Yeah, man. I'm excited to get into all the stuff we're going to talk through today. Give everybody a little context of who I am. Excuse me. Right now, currently, when we work backwards, I am a husband and a father to two amazing little boys, 5 and 7 years old. They're gearing up to try to beat Dave Finale at golf very soon. The 7-year-old's getting good. But my wife is my business partner as well here at the HBB Group. We started this thing about 12 years ago together. We live and work and run our business out of Hoboken right now. And before I got into real estate, I was in finance. So I was an economics major at Rutgers University, graduated, worked my way up into the financial industry, got all the way to a place I really wanted to be, which was trading corporate bonds in the city. And right around 2008, 2009, Dodd-Frank came in, which was a big financial regulation, which is not dissimilar to what we're dealing with right now at NAR. And there's a lot of parallels, which we'll talk about. My trading floor got cut in half. They said, hey, guys, the senior guys, you guys are going to be trading double books. The younger guys, there's a lot of squeeze on the flow of funds and the way compensation is going to work. We got to downsize. And in that interim, I had always had an entrepreneurial bug, always liked real estate. A buddy of mine said, why don't you get your license while you're trying to figure out your next move in finance? Got my license, walked into the local RE/MAX where he was working, where my wife was working, who I didn't know at the time. Met her, met my now, second father and mentor, Dan Voringer, who's working with us still to today, and just absolutely fell in love with the real estate business and started building first individual brand and individual business. And then eventually over time, as business grew, as we had overflow, we hired our first buyer's agent who's still with us today and grew the team, the HBB Group, to 10 agents, 12 agents. We work right around in that 10, 12 local agent number. We do about $90 to $100 million of volume here in Hoboken every year, just as the HBB Group. And we are now working with a line as well, and growing our world a little bit more to impact more lives.
Well, that's impacting lives is what we do as a business, right? And you know, I mean, you had to get started. You understood finance. You understood all that. Your start. I mean, the start of everybody's real estate business. Look, you didn't go to school to become a real estate agent, right? You went to school for what you started working on, which is very cool in and of itself. Dodd-Frank was a cluster, you know what, at that time, and then you get into real estate. So you had to get started in real estate. How did you get started with actually the business itself? Talk to me a little bit about what you had to learn and what you had to conquer, because mindset is always going to be an issue, and mindset helps people get started. And what I try to do in my coaching and my mentoring is I try to alleviate the anxiety of the mindset that's not there yet. So talk to me about that a little bit.
Yeah. So the way we got into the business and the mindset we had at the time, look, there's no easy way to say this. I looked around the industry and I saw a bunch of people not taking it seriously and making a lot of money. And I said,
okay. I love it.
I said, if that guy over there can make six figures and doing this the way he's doing it, and that guy over there is making 200 grand, 100, and I said, there's an opportunity here to take this thing seriously and build something long-term that's going to really last and be something special. And first 6 to 8 months, I didn't plan on staying in real estate, especially in the sales side of things, maybe investing and flipping and things like that, which I also have done and had some interest in. But the sales side really was just kind of a stopping point for me. And I saw this business opportunity that could be, if treated properly, if worked properly, if strategized properly, was enormous. And it was before teams were really a big thing at the time. It was when, there was a lot of high producing agents who were hiring some, like, just showing assistants or helpers on the side. But this team model was starting to emerge. And, it was all about relationships long term, which really excited me, because when I was in finance, it wasn't that. When I was selling financial products, it was about selling your products. When I was trading bonds, it was about getting the best deal for you to make the most spread that you could as, an entity, as a business, as an organization. Here it was about how many buyers at that time, buyers and sellers, could I help? It didn't matter which property they bought. It didn't matter when they bought. It didn't matter, what price they wanted to pay for it, and pushing them higher, getting them low, like that. It was about helping them in their best interest and their best needs.
Right.
So it was exciting to me. I'm like, that's my personality. Like, I come from, my father's a salesperson. My mother was a teacher. So I've got like the sales and social skills, but I also have like this nurturing feel that my mom really gave me. And I never felt good selling, like hard selling, because that just wasn't me. So this industry, it pushed me into a world where I was like, I get to build relationships, long-term relationships, and help people get to where they want to be. That was just exciting. And that was the mindset that I started the industry with, right? The other side of that is, like, I also started in the industry when I had no kids, wasn't married yet. And I said, hey, I'm getting after this for 2 to 3 years, like, without thinking about vacations, time off, what I'm doing on the weekends. Like, we're not thinking about that. We're just getting after it, right? And now my lifestyle is completely different. But at that time, I think what a lot of people miss in the beginning of this is, like, I'm going to get into real estate because I'm going to make some easy money, and it's going to be easy, and I'm going to make my own schedule. That's the one I love. Like, I'm going to get into real estate as a brand new agent so I can control my schedule. You can control your schedule to work your butt off for the first 2 or 3 years, right? Like, that's the control you have. Long term, you do it right, you can really build an amazing business that, yes, you got a ton of time and flexibility back. So I think that's a mindset you need to come into this industry today more than ever to be successful.
Yeah, that's really, really important, man. You answered a lot of questions of a lot of people there, what you have to do. And you know what? People keep asking that question. And look, as everything goes along, we're always going to get that question, or we're going to see it not happening. It's not happening in 80 to 90% of the agents out there. Part of those agents are very successful, and most of them are not, right? And they, it's like, I like to help people relieve the anxiety of saying this is, or once they realize what they have to do, the anxiety kicks in and says, oh shit, I got to do that. So, I mean, and that's the whole thing. And now with how we're going to change and how we do our business, it's not so easy anymore to, grab a lead from your broker and go sell that house. You show up and you get a $10,000 check 60 days later. That shit ain't going to fly too much anymore. I mean, I think that is the silver lining to what these changes are. And it has nothing to do with reducing the number of agents. It has to do with everybody's got to step up their game. So let's talk about, let's really get into this, if that's okay with you, Jeff. Let's talk about the difference. Basically, the difference is really simple, is instead of having the seller write in the listing, they're going to pay whatever their percentage is, and you decide how you're going to split it up with the buyer agent. You're actually going to deal with the seller, and if the seller is willing to pay out to a buyer agent or not, and how much and whatever. As a buyer agent, you're going to have that presentation the same as you would have with a listing agent. Hopefully, and that discussion is, this is what I'm going to do for you, and this is my fee for that. That's really simple and very callous, but that's what it is. So there's lots of questions. So when you started working with your team on this, I'm going to ask you, what were the questions that you had to answer first?
Are we going to still have a job in 6 months? Am I still going to be able to make any money? Like that's the truth of the matter, is like, there's a lot of agents that were immediately out of the gate saying, wait, are we done? Like, are we in trouble? Like, what's going on here? We can still be able to make a living doing what we're doing if we're going to have all these regulations and restrictions and new policies that are going to get in our way. And I think it's a natural instinct to have that feeling as soon as you hear about massive changes happening to your industry, the way you make your money. But I think once you could peel back the onion a little bit, especially if you care about what you do it really well, you are professional, you are constantly trying to level up and learn and expand your knowledge base to serve your customer base as good as possible. It's actually a huge opportunity. And I think a lot of the top, call it top 10, 20, 30%, maybe 50% of agents have come to see that now, as when everybody was kind of scared in the beginning. And those were the biggest questions. Like, what do we do? How are we going to do this? How are we going to operate? Now everyone's realizing that this is a professionalization of the industry that we're in, which my opinion, honestly, it's well needed. And the biggest things that we need to address now is, look, we've always competed for sellers. And if you look at the quality of the average listing agent and the professionalism, the strategy they have, the experience they have, the business acumen they have, it's always been light years above the average buyer's agent. Yeah, because seller's agent had to compete and buyer's agents didn't. Buyer's agents just kind of like, hey, if I can talk to enough people, open enough doors, I'm going to stumble into something. They don't really care what my value is because they're not paying me. And this is going to change that. So if you are a good listing agent, or if you're a solid buyer's agent that always had such good value for your buyers, now all you have to do is learn how to articulate it properly at the right times and the right ways, and both your marketing and your conversations, and you're going to be able to take the unfair share of the client of the opportunities out there, the business opportunities, than the people who just were, I'm going to buy some leads, open some doors, and hope that somebody buys something that I open, because I get paid either way.
Right, exactly. And it's interesting, and everybody has to understand that we broadcast nationally. It's the #1 live broadcast in real estate in the U.S. And one of the things I want everybody to understand is that every state has to do this. Now, there are some states laughing at all the other states because they've been doing it for years, right? Mm-hmm. North Carolina, for one, right? So, all right. So we have to explain how we're going to work with people. We have to deliver. And I've said this on several broadcasts. It started with Grant Wise a long time ago, a month and a half ago, about, we have to, the new phrase is bring value, show value, right? Okay, so let's not talk about that. We will talk about it a little bit later, but you got to show the value. But then, there's this thing, what we've seen in New Jersey, we started this 9 days ago, and we've seen like the fumbling. We've seen like the bumbling idiots. And I don't say that in a bad way. I'm saying because everything's changing, and there's a lot of stuff going on. I'm one of those bumbling idiots, not knowing how to do it. And we had a discussion prior to coming on air that, I think I made a mistake in how I told somebody how to do it. But let's talk about the paperwork delivery, man. They've got to sign something. You got to sign something. What's the process that you suggest on how to deliver that paperwork? Because this is what's hurting most, because they don't have the guts to ask for the business.
For sure. And I feel like I'm a little bit of a broken record, but we have to go back to look at how we worked with sellers forever, right? Exactly. And with sellers, it would be ridiculous, in my opinion. And I've never done it. And we've done, 500, 750 listings in the last 10 years. And I've never once got a call from a seller. That seller said, hey, I saw your information online. You look like you know what you're doing. Can you send me the paperwork to lock me into a 6-month agreement with you? It's crazy, right?
That's a great analogy. Great example.
But there's people saying that when the buyer leads call, they're going to say, sure, I'll meet you at the property, but I'm going to send you an agreement that you have to sign for 6 months that you're going to pay me no matter what. Or I'm going to bring it with me and just ask them to sign it there in front of the property. Like that idea seems absolutely insane to me. There's got to be a way more strategic, consultative approach to this, where you're getting to know somebody, where you're giving value, where you're having conversations, where you're meeting the other person while they're at where they're at. And I think first we could start on the spectrum of, who is this person we're talking to? Is this a referral from a past client? Is it a past client themselves?
Right.
Is it a lead that's been in your database for a couple months that you had some light conversations with, that's not quite ready to see a property yet, but they know you've been sending them some stuff to review. They've seen your buyer's guide. They've seen your value proposition. And now you're going for the first appointment. They're ready to go. Or is this like a Zillow lead who called you, doesn't know you from Adam, doesn't even know who was picking up the phone on the other side. They just knew someone was going to show them a property tomorrow, and they have no idea who you are. Like, where are we on the spectrum, right? So I'm on the one far side where we're talking about a referral, an SOI, someone who's far out from actually making a buying decision. Like, let's have a conversation. Let's set up a call. Let's set up a meeting. Let's come to my office. Let's go to a coffee shop. And there's time to do that, right? And really get to know each other before we start rushing into seeing properties. And you explain the whole agreement, how you work with your buyers, the value that you provide, the way that you handle the relationship, all the things you do. And here's the fee for it. Here's how the fee might get covered. Here's how it might not. And you have a real organized conversation. And on the other end of the spectrum, like Zillow's got a touring agreement for a reason, right? They're the ones that came out with this no compensation touring agreement, so that you can meet somebody without having a long-term high compensation piece of a contract in place. There's a reason for that, right? So that lead needs to know you more. So you need to understand, you need to make a decision as a business practitioner. Are you going to say to that Zillow lead, one, hey, I operate in a way where I meet with my clients first for 20 minutes. I explain my value proposition. I go over some paperwork we need to sign, and then we make a commitment to each other before I show you any properties. Or are you going to use that first showing as your interview process, where you say, hey, long-term, we have to sign some paperwork to work together. This is how I work with people. And I'd love to show you this property. You know, it's a showing agreement that lets me show it to you with no long-term agreement commitment from you, and then be able to dovetail into a showing. Like, what's your comfort level? Like, everyone's looking for, and I get it because I want it too. Everyone wants a clear-cut answer. This is how we do this. This is how we deliver it. This is the type of agreement we need to sign. This is how we send it. This is how we show up with it. And I would like that. It would be so much simpler. But we're got to put on our sales pants now. We got to put on our advisor pants now. Like, where is the value? Where has the value been communicated? How well does this person know me to commit to me? On what level, and what level even fair? Where do I want to commit to the buyer? I may not want to work with this buyer once I have another 10-minute conversation with them based on their expectations, their specifics, and things like that. This is a two-way street. So I think, although everybody wants that clean answer, I think you really need to sit down, think about your business model, think about the type of leads that you get, think about the type of pipeline that you have. How many people can you manage at one time effectively and really provide value to, and then decide exactly the way that you feel most comfortable engaging with new leads.
Absolutely. It's like you said, you meet them where they're at. And that's the most important thing, is you've got to feel them out as to what they're going to be comfortable with, right? No one is going to sign. Well, okay. Just like you said, the seller's not going to call you up, hey, I saw your stuff. I want to sign a 6-month agreement for you at 18%. You know, no one's going to do that, right? No buyer should be signing with you just by calling you up. Look, there's always the thing that one of the things I always taught is that I really want you to make sure to my agents that they have a buyer's agreement signed, or if not that, at least have the pre-approval to know what they can buy. Now, a lot of agents do, like, we're going to give you one shot. We're going to show you a house, then we're going to make sure we get all that stuff together. Everybody needs to know you cannot do that here. You cannot not have them sign an agreement. That is against all rules, regulations. I don't know about code of ethics, but it's against all the rules and regulations put into place because of DOJ and the state of New Jersey. Understand, the state of New Jersey, the state legislature themselves took the steps to do it because the real estate commission in New Jersey was going to take a long time. Unfortunately, the real estate commission takes a long time, you know, going to the bathroom, but that's beside the point. But So anyway, so delivering the paperwork, you just said meet them where they're at. Make sure that they're going to be comfortable with you, and that first showing, even though they got assigned it for that one property, that first showing can be your interview process to see how you work, to see how you do it. Look, and I'm going to tell everybody, like I tell it all new agents, it's not the Vanna White. This is the bathroom. It's not that nobody cares, right? All right. So we talked about paperwork delivery, right? Is there still, do you think there's still going to be a bunch of confusion with that? Because there's the paperwork delivery of in person. There's also the paperwork delivery of doing it prior to that by sending it out digitally.
Yep.
And how does someone say, please sign? I mean, it's a difficult situation, right? It's for most. For me and you, we just, if you know how to talk to people, it's not that difficult. You explain it, right? Is it better to do it digitally or is it better to do it in person? Is there a preference? Will it work either way?
Yeah. So I think, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, again, it's going to depend. It's going to depend on the situation, right? So if I get a call from somebody, they want to go see a property. It's a Zillow lead. Let's use that for one example, and then we'll do another one.
Okay.
It's a Zillow lead. They're super, amiable. They're personable. Like we're having a good conversation. We're building some rapport. They really are interested in this one property. We're talking about it a little bit. We talk about, overall just the process of buying a home, maybe for a minute or two. And we talk about the agreement. I'm going to send it to him. I'm going to say, hey, before we can see this property, we do need to have an agreement in place. And I'm going to send whatever agreement that I think I'm comfortable with sending based on our relationship, how quickly it was created. Is it a single property with a commission on it? Is it a showing agreement? Is it a 2-month agreement, 3-month agreement, 6-month agreement? And I'm going to first try to send it digitally and see if they can at least review it. Like if they don't want to sign it there, they want to meet me in person first and sign a hard copy. I'll bring a hard copy with me. But I'm a big fan of sending things ahead. Like when we go on listing appointments, we let our paperwork, our seller's guide, our value proposition, our marketing guide speak for us before we get there. 9 out of 10 times, we never have to actually review it with them. They're just ready to sign paperwork because the documents are so powerful. So if I can send my buyer agency agreement along with my buyer's guide, my value proposition, how we reverse market our buyers, right? All the things that we're going to do, they might just say, yeah, this looks great. This guy does look like a great guy to work with long-term. Let's docu-sign it and go, right? But if it's somebody who's giving me really short answers, they're not really getting into a good conversation with me, and we need to, and I'm telling them, hey, we got to sign some paperwork before we get into the unit. It's new state law. I might bring it with me rather than sending it ahead because they're not going to look at it. They haven't been in good rapport with me. They're just trying to use me for a showing, and I'm willing to go interview. Right? You have to be willing to go interview. If not, you make a decision to not even go meet that person and say I can't work with you if we can't have a conversation about the way I engage with my clients. Right? So I think you can make a case to send it either way. Like, who are you talking to? Are you talking to someone who's young, sounds like very with technology, or are you going to meet with somebody who may not be technologically inclined? Then I'm bringing it, right? I think you can kind of argue it either way.
Yeah, so it's real important. One of the things that Jeff just went through, just to bring it down to the smallest piece, is that's how the call goes too. That's how that telephone call goes too. It's a conversation, some data intake, right? You've got to do the data intake. By the way, that is not your presentation. It's data intake. How many bedrooms, how many baths? You have a conversation about lifestyle, which is what it is. That's really what the conversation sounds like. Is there anything else that you would add to that conversation, or is that what the buyer call sounds like?
Yeah, I'm gonna take that initial call as far as I can. Going back to the seller side again, right? The first conversation with the seller, how much can you pre-qualify them? How much can you get out of them that you can prepare for that first meeting, that you can know what's important to them so that you could show up with information potentially on like if I'm talking to a seller who's super analytical, I'm going to show up with a ton of data. And if I can get that out of them on that first call, I'll keep going on that first call so I can show up even more prepared. Right. And the same thing with the buyer. Like if I'm talking to a buyer and I can keep asking like, what's important to you and what do you not want to happen when you're buying this home? Like it's a mistake you're afraid of. What's something like, I'm going to ask these questions to understand them so that if they're saying, well, I really don't want to overpay based on the last few comps, I'm going to show up with the last few comps of that home we're looking for, just so they see like, wow, look, Jeff really listens. Jeff's really providing value based on what I want. and we're going to go as deep as we can on that first call. If I can get a buyer consultation done on that first call and present my value proposition and get the paperwork signed thereafter on Dotloop or DocuSign, I'll take the call all the way there, right? Like that's when I got you. Now if you start, I'm not going to push this on you. That's your sales skills, right? That's your people skills.
Exactly.
People want to get off the phone and they want to do this tomorrow. They want to do it out before they see the property at the coffee shop, whatever. You have to use your social skills to be able to understand how much you can take that conversation down the funnel and how much you need to back off and do like a 2-3 step process to meet them at their comfort zone.
Yeah, I think it's like anything else, Jeff, and it is. It's, guys, I want you to understand that it's not what you're telling them that's going to get them to want to work with you. It's the questions you're asking them that is going to get you for them to want to work with you. It's how you care about them. I know you hear this all the time, and I listen to different things or watch different things so I can get into that mindset all of the time to remind me all the time. But remember, it's the questions you ask and the questions you ask after you get the answers to those questions that are going to get you to where you need to be. Right?
And I agree with you there too. It's not what you tell them, it's the questions you ask. But I think the thing that we sometimes forget about is you ask the questions to get the information to tell them the right things, to provide the value on the things that are actually important to them, right? So that's like the last piece of that, gathering the information, 90% of it, but then addressing it and kind of delivering the proper information back based on the questions that got you the good details about who they are and what they really care about.
Yeah. So quickly, what we want to do is we want to find out where they're at when they take the call. This is a new lead coming in, guys, just so you know what we're talking about, right? We're going to get to the other thing in a sec. When people are calling in, you're going to have to ask them, you're going to have to do a little bit of data intake. And for me, if someone was calling me with a Zillow lead or whatever, and I'm responding to it, hey, you called about the house at 321 Main Street. Is that the home you want to see? Yeah, of course, that's the home I want to see. My first question to them is going to be, when you want to see it, right? I want to set it up so I'm ready to show them a house, because everybody else is going to ask them all these questions and get into all these details. No, when you want to see it, great. I'm going to set that up for you as we're talking. I got a few questions for you just to get rolling so we can get to know each other a little bit. And then you get into that, you get into how you can get into how you work, you get into what you do. Keep it short unless the conversation gets better. And every time you're making a statement, you better be asking a question at the same time. So that's how I look at that, just to get it rolling for new leads, right? You want to ask them, when do you want to see it? Because that's what they want. They're calling the guy with the house, right?
Give them what they want. Yep. Then you get permission to take the conversation further by giving them what they want initially.
And what will help you, everybody, is if you actually practice this. That will help an awful lot. Okay. All right, Jeff. So this is another thing I've heard, another question. Along with that conversation we just had, what about the people you've been nurturing, the people you talked to 3, 6, 8, 10, 12 months ago that aren't ready to buy yet, but you've built kind of a rapport with them and they know a little bit about you and you believe that they'll work with you. How does it change with let's call them old leads that are still top of the funnel? They're not ready to go down yet. How do you shift gears with this methodology of buyer compensation?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's all about the conversation, like the relationship you have already with them. Like some people you're just going to be able to have a conversation and say, hey, there's new policies that are in place. We need to have new paperwork signed so we can work with our clients in compliance with new state laws and new national laws. And to do that, I'd love to sit down with you, go over that paperwork with you, explain to you my compensation, explain to you the options of how that compensation could get paid, and then be able to move forward and work with you properly, right? Like some people may already know your value proposition. You don't have to go into it with them. Now, other people, you really need to identify what your value proposition is. What are you going to do and continue to do, because you're at the very early stages of this relationship. So at that point, it's almost like a level setting kind of conversation, right? So you're calling that client or that lead, in that client lead kind of flux right there, who aren't quite ready yet. And you're saying, hey, there's some new policies, there's some new paperwork that needs to be done for us to work with our clients and stay in compliance. I'd love to sit down with you and show you how we could take our relationship and the way we've been working together from the initial conversations and really put what I do for my clients who are ready to buy in action for you, and then be able to set up a meeting to go through it with them. I think it's a great opportunity to go deeper with each one of those people that we've talked to and just built these initial relationships with, and be able to kind of lock them in to being our long-term clients and having a long-term relationship from this kind of fluffy world that we've just been like starting to build some initial rapport.
Yeah, I also believe, and I know you do, and we do at Align, is that this is an opportunity, right? This is an opportunity for you to reconnect with people maybe you didn't talk to in a while. Reconnect with sellers maybe you talked to a while ago that aren't ready to buy. Reconnect with people in your database. Hopefully you have been building that database and doing that data intake over the years. It's another reason to call them and say, hey, look, I just wanted to touch base, see if you had any questions about what's going on in real estate. If you heard about the changes that we have to do, it's a reason to call. It's a reason to pick up that phone. Even if you don't want to pick up the phone, I'm going to tell you that if you pick up the phone, there's a really 50-50 chance or better that people are going to want to talk to you on the other end. All right, man. So we talked about old leads. We talked about new leads. With prospecting for buyers, how does that change, or does it?
Yeah, I think it changes if you've been prospecting for transactions. So I'm always a believer that there's a million ways to run a real estate business, but there's two main ways. One way is that you prospect for transactions, saying you're looking for bottom of funnel, ready to transact buyers and sellers all the time. That's like your business model. On the phone 5 to 6 hours a day in perpetuity. That's what you're going to do until the day you shut your real estate doors. And there's another model that is you're prospecting for relationships. And this is you're building long-term deep relationships with a specific niche, with a specific community, with your past clients, your SOI, and you're trying to be the real estate advisor, the real estate consultant. That the word real estate comes up, the name Dave Finale comes up, right? Like that's the business model. You were trying to create that association with as many people as possible. And I'm here to I don't think one's right or wrong. My personal favorite is be that heavy prospector looking for transactions until you have a big enough pool of people that you can build long-term relationships with. And that can sustain you, that you no longer have to hunt for transactions every single day for the rest of your career. That's the way I coach our new agents and anybody who asks me, how should I really get into real estate? So if you're already in that secondary place in your career where you're hunting for relationships, you're just maintaining relationships, building new ones, adding just more people into the Dave Finale is my real estate guy pool, because I'm going to love on them and be there for if they're buying in New Jersey or they're buying in Hawaii or they're buying in Portugal. Like what I'm going to call Dave to get the guidance, to get connected to the right people. Like he's my real estate hub. That doesn't change. In my opinion, that changes very little. You are still focused on being a resource, adding value. Now, if you're focusing on transactions and you're just calling FSBOs expired, like just looking for bottom of funnel Zillow leads, all those things. No, again, there's nothing wrong with that. It's a good business model and it's a profitable one. It could be a very, a sustainable one if you continue to do it. You might have a little bit more trouble articulating your value to people that you don't have a long-term relationship with, that you haven't nurtured for a long time. If somebody is ready to transact tomorrow, can you articulate the value that you're going to provide for them as well as you can someone who's so far up the funnel 6 months out? So I've been talking about this flipping the funnel idea, right? Like we've all been trained as real estate agents to be like, did they say they're going to buy a home? Let me get in front of them. Let's go talk. Instead of saying, hey, did they talk about moving in 2 years, or they're thinking about moving in 2 years? Let me get in conversation with that person now, because they're actually more valuable to me. I can provide more value to them. Therefore, asking for and charging a better fee long term, because I'm providing more value. If you provide less value, you should charge less fee. More value, more fee is the way I look at it.
And it's very important to be able to communicate your value. Okay, we've all heard this phrase over the past 6 to 8 months. You have to bring value. You have to bring value. Well, if you're bringing value to your seller in your listing presentation, your buyer presentation, and we've talked about this, I don't know, for the past 30 minutes, it's actually a buyer presentation, right? You have to be able to bring value or to show value. Now, that's not the data intake I talked about. That is not alone telling them what the process is, but it's what you do for them that might be different, how you're going to find them a home. For us, it's, the last place that we're really looking for as the seasoned agents we are is on the MLS. They're going to do that. They're going to look there. They're going to look for Zillow. But how do you communicate your unique service proposition, your thing? Well, you know what? I'm going to tease you a little bit because I'm not going to give you the exact way to do it right now. I'm going to ask you all that if you're interested in finding out how to communicate your value, reach out to me or Jeff, and we'll do it. We'll help you set it all up in 60 minutes or less, guaranteed. No charge, no fee, no nothing. We'll just do it that way. Because here's the thing. You need to communicate your value in 3 sentences or less when you need to. You're not going to spout it off on the phone like, hi, we used to answer the phone. Hi, eXp Realty, this is Dave. How can I help you? No, that's not going to do that. That's not what we're talking about. You need to be able to communicate it in a way that you understand it, that can be understood to others. Like, for instance, if you look at a lot of Instagram account profiles, right? One of the biggest mistakes that most agents made is they don't say what they do. They say realtor, real estate agent. Some people say, I help new buyers find the home of their dreams. Now, that's an I help statement.
Yep.
It's not exactly like that, but we'll give you in 3 sentences or less, in 60 minutes or less, to set that up. So I want to tease that out there, that we're setting that up for anybody that's interested. You can reach out to me or Jeff, and we'll get that to you. All right. That's what we're talking about, right, Jeff?
I think you hit the nail on the head there too, because everybody wants like a value proposition in a box. And like, there's some basic stuff that could be a value proposition to any good real estate agent, right? Like when we go on listing appointments, we almost downplay a lot of that stuff. We go, of course, we're going to take professional photos. Of course, we're going to put you on the MLS. Of course, we're going to put you on Zillow. Of course, we're going to help you with some light staging and do all the things that any good real estate agent would do. But what we do differently is XYZ 1, 2, 3, and that's unique to us, right? And each now on the buyer side is going to be the same thing. Of course, we're going to set you up on an MLS strip. Of course, we're going to be responsive, and we're going to accommodate as much as we can to get you into properties as quickly as possible. And that's what every good agent's going to do. But what I'm going to do is XYZ 1, 2, 3. Your power. Like, do you have an ISA team that's going to call and look for properties for them? Are you going to call and look for properties for them? Are you going to go door knock properties for them? Are you going to reverse market their buyers, which is something we're starting to do, right? You market your listings, we market our buyers. Like what do you have access to already? Do you have a pool of listings that are off market or coming soon that would sell for a certain number that you can match them with before there's competition? Like, what can you do? And the important thing there, what Dave said that I think is so important, is you have to have a niche, I think, going forward.
Yeah.
The day of just being an agent for all is going to be a much more difficult thing, because if you what's the saying that I'm looking for?
If you work for everyone, my saying would be, if you work for everybody, you work for no one.
Correct. If you're for everyone, you're for no one, right? If you don't have a direction, because like our HBB group, we're Hoboken, right? You want to buy in Hoboken, specifically the Hudson T, the Northeast doorman elevator buildings. Like, we know what's coming on the market. We know the intimate, why'd that trade there? Because, oh, that was that issue. Cool. That doesn't really matter for that comp. Like, we know the people that are going to bring properties to the market, they call us for pricing if they have a client in our market, because they want to make sure they didn't miss anything. So we know about that when that comes on the market before. We have an intimate knowledge here. We're going to help you get to where you need to be in this market. Now, if you want to buy in Westfield, I'm not your guy, but I got the guy for you, right? I have the guy who's got that niche for you. He's an extension of our organization, right? So that's the difference, where I think if you're for everyone, you're for no one. That's exactly the point that I think we need to think about in the way we run our businesses going forward, now more than ever, when you have to articulate why you're so valuable to that niche.
Yeah, that's really important. I mean, one of the things you just mentioned without saying is that you have resources. You have your niche, you have where you work, but you have resources. If you need, like, let's talk about Jersey real quick, New Jersey, right? So there's all the different counties and stuff, and people will basically specialize in that county or that town. Because let's face it, if you're going to go do a listing, and Jeff, if you got a call for a listing in Parsippany, New Jersey, if you're serious about it, you're going to go learn that market before you're in it, and actually before that appointment. But you know what? You have resources. So you need to use the resources. For Hoboken, I'm calling you and several other people in our group, right? That's what I'm doing. Okay. And and honestly, that's one of the great powers of Align is where our wings spread all over the place here in New Jersey. Now, this is not an advertisement for Align or eXp Realty. It's a process where to help you, we want you to grow your niche. We want you to have something that you're doing that you're going to be more comfortable with, right? A lot of new agents will come in and say, oh, I'm going to work with this guy. I'm going to work with this guy. I'm going to work with investors. You know what? Just get started somewhere. This is not going to be the old thing. I mentioned it. We alluded to it earlier. You know, you get a call, you go out, you show a house, you sign a contract, you get paid. That's no work, right? And that's where part of the problem came from that we're dealing with now. So, Jeff, we talked about so many things. We talked a little bit about mindset. For new agents, for any agent, for people that have to make this change, which is all of us, you know, there's a lot of fear out there. Fear is mindset. Fear is limiting beliefs. Is there a way, or what have you done with your people to help them change the mindset to relieve some of that fear?
For sure. I love that question. And you touched on something there. You touched on the new agent, right? And I think I love talking to the new agent. I think this applies to anybody starting a real estate career at any point, but I think it's even more. And we talk about value proposition. We talk about having experience, having resources, having a niche. And if I'm a new agent, I'm hearing me say all that. I'm like, well, what about me? I don't have a value proposition. I don't have a niche. I don't have experience. I don't have resources. I'm brand new. Well, you do have a value proposition. You just got to think about what it is a little bit harder. Your value proposition is your new. And hopefully you're connected with somebody who has all the resources. And when I was brand new, I was, 39 now. So I was 28, 29, whatever I was, younger for a real estate agent, right? And everyone looked at me as, you know, do you know what you're doing? Who are you? Why are you, like, I don't know your name. Well, you don't know my name, but you're going to get a call back from me. If you call me at 10 o'clock at night, I'm going to call you back at 10 o'clock at night. If you call me on Sunday at 8 a.m., you got me. I am the hustler. That's my value right now today as 28, 29-year-old brand new Jeff Bonk. And I have the most powerful resources behind me. My mentor is amazing. I have this organization that has all these tools, all the systems. I can get the answer to anything you want in 30 seconds or less from my resources, from my network. That was my value. And that could be your value today as a new agent. You don't have to be 10 years, 5 years, 3 years, 100 transactions into the industry to have value. Now, today, my value proposition is different. I have a network, I have a resource, I have systems, I have leverage, I have different things, right? So the mindset has to be not like, oh, no, this is bad for me because I don't have X, Y, Z. It's no, how do I rework my value prop, rework my mindset, rework my way that I face the consumer to show what I have is a value to them, right? And I think that's key for people right now that are breaking into the industry. But it's also just a mindset of getting into any real estate or any other industry at all. What is the thing that you can outdo the experienced, the incumbent person on, right? So I think that's a mindset for the new agent, to say the least. I'll keep going if unless you stop me.
No, keep going, man.
All right. The overall mindset, like the mindset for the NAR changes, right?
There we go.
Change naturally spurs fear, right? It's just like natural human emotion. What we need to do is understand that one thing first is change is an opportunity. Change is always an opportunity after you see through the smoke and things settle and you know how to move forward confidently and strategically, right? Like that's number one thing. But the second is like, you have to accept the change. And I compare this a lot to when we had COVID come onto our scene hot and heavy, almost 5 years ago now, 4.5, 5 years ago. We had, thank God, this is not as serious. No one's going to die from these NAR changes. Thank God. Right. So it's not the same thing, but it's the same kind of reaction that we need to have to it as professionals. When COVID happened, all of a sudden we couldn't show properties. We didn't know if another home would ever sell. We didn't know over the next few weeks how to show properties. Could we show properties? What states could show properties? What am I allowed to say to people? What should I be saying? All these different, and it was changing nonstop. And then we were allowed to do some stuff. And then they said, nope, you can't do that anymore. And then things got better. And then there was a spike in cases and things got worse again. Like there was this moving target that was completely unknown, completely unforeseen. There's no precedent. Today, we're in a similar world. We're like, things are changing. What are we supposed to do now? Oh, we got to act like this. Cool. Oh, wait, there's new changes. Oh, something evolved again. So this mindset of one is there's going to be a new set of information, right? There's new information right now. We got to do new things. We got to act differently. We got to talk to clients differently. Like that's what we know. Two is strategize. Like how do we move forward? How do we confidently go about our job now and do it in a way that aligns with what we have to do and gives us a strategic advantage? Three is just wait for some more change. Like there's going to be more change. Expect it. Don't get frustrated when it comes. Expect it. And when it comes, strategize again and get back to work. wait for change, strategize again, get back to work, wait for change. And there's this cycle. It was just like during COVID, like we were moving target, we were preparing, change, prepare. And I think as long as you know that that's coming and you're able to expect it and not be surprised by it, you're going to work through this very effectively, very efficiently, and come out the other side stronger, better, more profitable, bigger business, well, all the things that you're trying to accomplish, serving more clients effectively than if you are, I don't like this change. Why do we have to do that? Oh, there's going to be more change. Oh, they just told us to do this and now they're telling us to do that. Like that's the attitude that's not going to get you to the other side of this rainbow, right? So I think that is the biggest mindset that I think everyone needs to establish going forward.
Yeah, and the one thing that I've heard and I agree with from some national people is that you know what, in another few months, it's all going to be behind us and we're going to be doing business this way. Now, I want to just caution everyone that let's all work and play by the rules. I believe there's going to be some. I hope there's not, but there's always somebody that wants to circumvent the rules. Everybody play by the rules. Don't bitch and moan about them. Just have a conversation. We police ourselves. We're never going to have that problem, right? You know, when you talk about mindset and everything else. Look, you talked about Dodd-Frank, and before that, in the late '90s, you know, there was no such thing as agency, especially here in New Jersey, where, believe it or not, guys, the listing agent represented the seller, but so did the buyer's agent, right? That's where the phrase cooperating agent came from, because MLSs were built so that we all would cooperate and share our listings. That's how MLSs start and why they started. And then we would cooperate and work with each other and make sure everybody got paid. As time went on, it was not a good value proposition. It was not a good way to represent a buyer because they had nobody representing them except their attorney, which is where agency came from. The same headaches that everybody thinks is happening now happened back then, right? So understand that change happens. You don't think twice about agency. Hopefully you understand it. And about the new agency that changed a little bit here in New Jersey. I'm not sure if it changed throughout the country, designated agent. So understand that there are changes, and the changes are going to happen. And they're going to happen one at a time. And in another few months, this is all going to be behind us, and we're going to be great. So Jeff, as far as this whole thing is concerned, how do you see the next 3 to 6 months in our business changing how people do their business?
Yeah. So I'm actually calling it a 6 to 18 month window that could be a little bit of a shit show, for lack of better terms. Like, change is never easy, smooth, and straightforward. There's always moving pieces. There's always things that need to be flushed out. So what I think we see is we're definitely going to see a couple things. We're definitely going to see a flight to quality. We're going to see quality agents who know their value, can articulate their value, can connect with clients in the right way and provide value, are going to rise to the top. You know, I definitely think we see that. I think we see an industry that kind of starts to shape up with different service levels. There's going to be people who want a full-fledged fiduciary long-term commitment from an agent to take them from A to Z, and they got to get to Z, right? They have a long 6-month, 8-month process. They don't know where they need to move. They don't know what type of properties are there. And I think there's going to be people that only need to get from A to C, right? There's like a shorter window for them, and they're going to need a different type of service from a real estate agent. I know it's an unpopular opinion, but I think that's where we're going to go as an industry, where we're going to have different layers, different ways that we engage with our clients. I think we're not there yet. We don't know exactly how that shakes out. I think we need to see how the market responds, what clients want, what agents are willing to provide as service for what type of service schedules. But I do believe that that's where we go over time. And I think that we also see potentially some more listing agents who are predominantly more on the list side start working with more buyers now that they can have a long-term fiduciary value-based agreement with them, right? Because that was the fear of like working with too many buyers, is you never had a long-term agreement with buyers because we never had this ability to provide value for a commitment unless you use a buyer agency agreement, which we just didn't use in our markets. Like, this didn't really exist. Right. So I think we see that kind of a continued morphing of the way the industry looks. Like, think about maybe the way like the travel agency industry looks or the car dealership industry looks. There's different layers. Like if I'm going to book a trip to Florida and I know where I'm going to stay already, I just go online and book it. But if I'm going to book a trip to Italy, like you just got back from, you probably use a travel agent or had somebody guiding you to where the heck am I staying? Where am I going? I don't know.
Yeah.
First thing. So people think travel agents are dead. No, they're not. They're just doing different jobs and they're in different places. The brick and mortars are gone. They've gone to more cloud-based stuff, kind of like we've done, right? But their value is still there. It's just been translated and really narrowed in on their niche. Like my cousin's an amazing travel agent. She does cruises and trips to Italy. Like that's her bread and butter. She will book you the best trip ever. But like if you ask her about something else, you're like, oh, I can kind of help you there, but I'm not really, that's not my niche, not my bread and butter.
Right.
Like, that's where I think we see the real estate industry going.
Yeah, and I think that niche with travel agents, you started with actually Disney, because the people that wanted to go to Disney didn't know what to do. There's so many things. So that was a specific in a niche that was there. You know, one of the things that I see about all of this and is how this will play into the buyer compensation piece and the seller compensation, buyer agent compensation and the seller agent compensation. I see this working towards also a negotiation strategy, right? So we have a negotiation strategy before all of this, Jeff, on, okay, so we're going to offer this, we're going to waive inspections except for environmental, structural, and mechanical, and we'll waive appraisal up to a certain amount and all this stuff. And those were your terms that you actually negotiated. Look, before the inventory issue hit over the years, we didn't have a problem because those things never came up. We had an inspection. Oh, there's a scratch on the wall. Fix that, right? You don't see that shit anymore. And that's one good thing that did happen, that has happened because of this. But the negotiating strategies of compensation, we're going to be including that into our offers. Yeah. How do you see this? How do you see this evolving as far as the negotiating strategy?
Yeah, for sure. And I think, you know, at risk of this being another unpopular opinion, I think this forces us to be the fiduciary even more strongly for our clients, right? So here's what I mean. So for sellers right now in our market, a lot of people are going to tell their sellers, hey, keep paying 2.5% out, keep paying 3% out, 2%, whatever the thing they used to advise, pay out to buyer's agents. I don't think that's the right move anymore. I think you should absolutely advise your sellers that paying something towards compensation for the buyer's agent is going to give them the best chance of getting the best price for their property and marketing it the right way, right? But I don't think locking themselves into a number is the best strategy if I'm advising my seller. But if I'm advising my buyer, I'm going to tell my buyer, let's call the other side. Let's see what they're offering, because then we can work with that into the offer, know where they're at. And it's just another piece of information we need to know. So I think the good agents are going to be able to put their client's interest first, negotiate strongly and fairly with the other side. And it'll work out for both ends of the spectrum, because you still need cooperation, right?
Yeah.
Cooperating and giving things away and not negotiating for your side properly are two different things, right? And I think that's where we're going to see this go. I think we're going to see a little bit more of, the seller's willing to pay concession towards the buyer agent commission, but it's one of the terms. So please, present it in your offer and we will advise from there.
So I want to go into a couple of really quick things, Jeff, because we're running up on time. I want to talk about there's an elephant in the room about compensation and cooperation, where people are attacking certain agents of certain companies because their leader has come out and said that we are not paying broker to broker compensation. Yep. Listen to those freaking words, everybody. Broker to broker compensation. It is no longer legal to do. You can't do it. No one ever said about broker to broker cooperation. We're talking cooperation, not compensation. And the team leaders and the broker owners that are going out and trying to recruit people because of it, I'm sorry, guys, you're not doing it correctly. That being said, I want to also say something about this as a negotiating strategy, right? Everybody's offering the cooperation. That's what you just said. But also, let's understand that with your first showing and having to explain this to them, one of the things that you can do is say, hey, look, this is how it's going to work. This is what my fee is. And we're just going to do this one showing for you to get a feel for me and everything. But one of the things I'm going to do, Mr. Buyer, is I'm going to give a call as I set the appointment to the listing agent. And I'm going to feel them out about what their compensation might be, so that we can talk about that and show you how I work and can negotiate the best of our abilities and your financial ability to negotiate what we need to do as we move along when we make an offer with terms. Does that make sense, Mr. Buyer?
Absolutely. And I think this is like, as a listing agent, I can't believe how many offers I get from people who never called me to see what was important to the seller as far as terms.
Right.
If I get 5 offers on a property, 2 or 3 of them never called me. They just send it. And 2 or 3 of them did the right job. And this is just another addition to that right job. I used to get the call, and I would do for my buyers, hey, Dave, my buyer loves 123 Main Street. We're going to make an offer. Other than price, which is obviously super important, is there any other terms that are really hot buttons for the seller? Like, are they really worried about appraisal? Are they really worried about being nickel-dimed in inspection? Some people may care so much about inspection, and some people may say, I don't care, whatever. I'll throw $500 at it later. It doesn't matter to me. Do they need to move tomorrow? Do they need to rent the place back? Is there anything else I should know about the seller's desire to sell his property? Now it's just layering in commission, right? Are they offering a commission? Do they have any problems paying a seller concession to cover my buyer agency commission? And it's just another term that you need to call and ask about to make your buyer's offer as strong as humanly possible.
And this will also help you show great value to your buyer, so they take a little bit of the fear and the trepidation out of signing that agreement before they even know who the hell you are. Right? It's really important. This has been really great stuff, Jeff. We're running up on time. I want to thank you for coming on. And I want to ask you a couple of things really quickly. Number one, the most important thing I want to ask you here for our industry, you're a new agent, you're a stuck agent, and you're here and you're worried about getting paid and being able to build your business. How would you coach them?
Focus on providing value. Like, in absence of value, price is all we have. If you provide value, people will pay for it. Like, as a high level answer to that is that. As a more nitty gritty answer is make sure you get around the right people. Make sure you're continuing to educate yourself all the time. Make sure you're taking action constantly, even if you're not 100% comfortable with what you're doing or confident that you know every answer to everything. Start taking action, because you will improve the level of your abilities as you take more action and learn from the responses from the action you take.
Yeah, and I want to stress one other thing is, as you're taking that action, guys, it's really important for you to practice what you're talking about and how you're doing it. I mean, it can be a conversation just with a buddy of yours that's in the industry. If you're having coffee with them or whatever you're doing, you can have that conversation. Jeff, I want to thank you so much for coming on. Before we end, I want to just relate to everybody. Next Friday, August 16th, we have a friend of mine up in Canada, James Lewis, who is one of the top agents in Canada. He's at the agency, and he is the founder of James in the City. He is an amazing human being. I love the way he does his business, and we're going to get a different aspect of real estate from James and how he's built up his brand up there in Canada. So James is going to be on. And certainly, last but not least, Jeff, I mean, we've got Jeff's Instagram up, his contact information on the screen, his email address, his phone number. Reach out about if you want some support, you want to partner with Jeff or with me or whatever. Remember, our offer stands out there, 60 minutes or less. We'll help you build that 3-sentence value proposition so that you can just spurt it out and be able to do it. And we're not talking about anything fancy, but we'll help you do it. Anyway, last question I have for you, Jeff, for the day is, how do I help Jeff Bonk grow his business?
Man, just keep doing what you're doing. Keep adding value. I'm a true believer. If you just keep adding value to people with no expectation of anything in return, you're going to have the life you want and the income you want and the lifestyle and impact that you want. So that's what we're here doing today. It's what you've done now for, what is it? My name's over the thing, but 323 weeks in a row. Yeah. I think everyone could take a lesson away from that, right? You're out here providing value. You're not getting paid for this. You don't have sponsorships all over it, right? You're just trying to provide value to the industry, and your goals and your dreams are going to be achieved by just adding value without expecting it to come back in return. So keep doing what you're doing, man. Really appreciate being in business with you, being partnered with you, and just being friends with you.
Thank you so much, man. I just everybody should know that we will do this. We've done this broadcast right now. We're in New Haven, Connecticut. at NOLA Wellness, which is a great spa here in New Haven. We've done this in Paris. We've done this in Italy. We've done it in San Diego. We've done it on the beach. We've done it on decks. We've done it in bathrooms. But here we are still doing it. We're doing it in a massage room, actually, in New Haven, Connecticut. So, Jeff, I want to thank you so much for coming on. And let's not forget, Jeff, you were on twice before, from what I understand, from what I have been told by my assistant. You were on in 21 twice, 158, number 158, 175. I know you got at least one hat back then, and now you get the blue one.
I'm waiting. That blue is awesome.
Thanks so much for coming on. God bless you and your family. I can't wait to get out on the course with you again.
Sir.
And everybody, thank God, everybody. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week with James Lewis. Jeff, stick around for a minute. Nelson, take us out.
Real estate agents, are you looking to acquire clients consistently to grow your business and income for a great lifestyle? Well, this is Dave